Good morning and welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the woods. In today's video I'm going to attempt to light a fire with this little gadget, and this is a Petromax fire piston. A friend of mine has sent me this. He said that he hadn't seen me light a fire with a fire piston, so he bought me one and sent it to me. Now I have lit a fire with a fire piston on several occasions because I do already own one. The one I have is a Vulcan from the US, I believe, but it's a bit small and it's a little bit fiddly, and I think this is a better design. If you're not familiar with a fire piston, it's this. A gasket goes on there, you put a little bit of lube on it. In the dip you put some very fine tinder like charcloth or amadou. You put it in, you whack it down, and pressure creates an ember. Sounds simple. It is, if it's done right. And what I like about this is on one end you've got a capsule for your tinder, and on the other end you've got a capsule for your lube. Now my other one I have only has one capsule, so just keep the tinder in. But you need lube, you've got to have the lube to go on it, or it doesn't create that seal. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to attempt to light this fire, no knife, only what I can gather and this gadget. So I've got my tinder and I've got my fire starter, but I need a secondary tinder because the ember you get from this is so tiny. You need to put it in something else as a coal extender. Now when I was walking in, I was lucky enough to find a King Alfred's cake on a dead ash. No, I haven't opened it. Now if this is dry and usable, it's a game changer because this is one big coal. If it's not, then I gotta use more tinder out of the capsule. It's bone dry. That makes my life a lot easier, and it's a nice big one. That's great. I have got a bag full of this stuff in the house, and I was toying with the idea of bringing one, but I didn't. I thought, no, I'm gonna do it pure, but I found that. So as far as I'm concerned, that's great, because I did find it here in the woods. I gathered some twigs on the way in, some nice fine twigs, but I do need something then, and in between, a bark or even leaves, and it is doable with leaves. It's not easy, but it is doable, and I have done it to get my twigs going. Right then, another thing I'm going to look for, and in fact I can see it from where I'm sitting, is something to make a blowing tube. Japanese knotweed. Right, well, I'm going to get a piece of Japanese knotweed. I'm going to have a look around the area now for some more fine twigs, and then get going. I'm going to put that gasket on as well. Right, gasket's on. I got the tinder out. Unfortunately, the tinder that's in the handle looks like it's made from some kind of string, and it just disintegrated. So that's all I managed to pack in there. Now, call it cheat if you like, but I did bring some with me, stuff I've made which is in my tin, and I'm actually going to put that in because, as we all know, untested kit is a bad idea. So I'm going to get some of my own. And pack this in instead. And I always make this out of denim, and it stays together a lot better. Too much there. Yes, I think this is the worst bit of the job. my hands are bone dry, so there's no moisture coming off my hands. Yes, that's a shame. The stuff in the handle needs to be replaced. It's not good enough. Packed. Now I'm going to put some lube around the top. This is a very fiddly thing to do. So certainly not a survival fire lighter. Lube. I'm using a bit of stick because I don't want my dirty fingers going in the lube. I'm going to leave that now, look for materials. Right, I've gathered everything I'm going to need. I've got some small pieces of Japanese knotweed. In my fire pan, I've done a crisscross fire lay with bone dry wood. I've got some really thin sticks of knotweed. I've got some very fine twigs. I've got some dry beech leaves, which I picked out of a patch of sun. But there somewhere. I've got my fungus, which I've broken up, because if you break it up, more surface area to heat things up. And I've got some peeling out the bark from dead birch. I've also got my knotweed blowpipe. I may not need that. Didn't work. One thing I could have done with the piece of fungus was created a little dent in it and just to put my tinder in, and that would have worked really well. We'll call that lit and a success. Now I can have a cup of tea and pat myself on the back for being a clever little woodsman. Fire with the Petromax fire piston. Worked well, apart from the charred material in the handle. Just fell apart. Apart from that, and I think if I'd have taken a bit more time, and packed it in tight, it would probably be an okay, but that's my suggestion. If you buy one of these and you want to have a play with one, I would change the char cloth because it just fell apart. Yeah, denim char cloth, the way to go. Or Amadou, if you've got Amadou. I have got a bit of Amadou. One more thing I want to add about this fire piston, and which my Vulcan one has something else going for it. The Vulcan one can be completely pulled apart. Now when you store this one, if the gasket's on it, it's so tight to seal, and I've taken the lube off that, it's just going to open up. So you've got to store it that way. So I'd say a good idea was to take a plastic bag or some kitchen roll just to wrap around that, because it's going to live in the bag that way. My Vulcan one, this end unscrews, so you can just pop it in and screw it back up. So you haven't got that seal, but this is bigger than the Vulcan one, and I can put a lot more material in there. Both of them have got their pluses and minuses, and I think the Vulcan one costs probably twice what this one costs, but I'm not sure. Yes, good bit of kit. Bit of a gimmick, mind you. You know, it's not a survival fire lighter, it's something to play with. Another string to your bow if you can light a fire with one of these. And I'm quite pleased I managed to do it without pulling a knife out. Just replace that char cloth.